Being very entitled and controlling, narcissists have no difficulty stepping all over your personal boundaries. So that's why I put together an extensive video class called This Is Me. It has 25 videos, written documents, guided questions. I'm going to teach you how to have healthy boundaries. There's a link below, and I hope you'll find it to be quite therapeutic. As you continue to learn about the pattern of narcissism, one word that will keep coming up from people like me trying to teach folks like you is the word toxic. Narcissists bring a great deal of toxicity to a relationship, and over time it can have a very strong erosive effect on you. Now, when we say somebody's toxic, what do we mean by that? Well, when we talk about toxins in biology, we're talking about something that's poisonous. When a person is toxic, they are infectious in a not so good way. It's harmful. It's damaging. I used the word erosive just a moment ago. It's deadly. That's what we mean when we say narcissists bring a great deal of toxicity. The entirety of their pattern of life is built upon all sorts of unhealthy initiatives. They're unnaturally selfish. They just take it to a great extreme. They have an unnatural need to be in control. They've got to be superior. They will not. They'll not be open to your input. They're highly defensive. Things of that nature. And when they bring those kinds of ingredients over and over and over, then of course we have a poisonous atmosphere. Now, one of the things I like to do as I'm talking with you about this subject is I want to make sure that we get beyond the textbook definition of narcissism, and I want to bring it into real time, into your home, your place of business, your social life, and show you how this plays out in common kind of scenarios. And to that effect, today I want to illustrate to you or talk to you about 8 specific ways that narcissists bring toxicity to a relationship, and we're going to talk about how you can detox from all of that. Now, first and foremost, when we talk about toxic narcissists, number one is these are individuals who play games with the truth. Narcissists a long time ago decided, well, I can't really tolerate when people say certain things to me that are unflattering. True, maybe, but I don't like it. And so they learned to put on a mask of what we call the false self. They're constantly jockeying for position, trying to make themselves look better than they want. And as a result, they lie to themselves about how much better they are. And they basically decide, well, whatever suits my narrative today, then that's true. And whatever facts I need to anchor down on, they're just going to be whatever I want it to be. They're game players when it comes to truth, and you can't tie them down because of that. And how many times you feel like I'm trying to bang my head against the brick wall when I'm talking with them? A second pattern that's very common in the toxic narcissist is anger is their primary means of influence. Now think that one through. By the way, I find people being influential when they're kind and helpful and friendly and encouraging. That influences me pretty nicely. The narcissist thinks, well, I'll tell you how I influence people. I intimidate them. I'm going to be a bully. And if they don't do what I want them to do, I'm just going to make them feel miserable. And so they can come on with all this toxic agitation and irritability. They can have vengeance. They'll punish you. They can be overbearing. That's what I mean when I say, yeah, that's their way of influencing. It's no good, but to them, it's like, well, it works for me. A third common pattern that's part of their toxicity is that they cannot refrain from controlling behaviors and attitudes. I put that in specifically. The controlling behaviors, they have the agenda. Here's how things are supposed to be. It's as though they've got it written out. Okay, you have to do this, can't do this, better not do that. And they want to impose that on you. And it's not just a form of communication. It's not behavioral. It's an attitude. I must be in control. I have to have the final word, and here's what it is. I'm going to superimpose it onto you. And I've spoken with so many people who thought this is so debilitating. And it's like, yeah, right. And that's the toxic effect. A fourth pattern that's part of their toxicity. And that is, these individuals are illogically closed-minded. It's one thing for you to say, this person in my world just isn't bringing any kind of good ingredients to me. I don't need to listen to them much. And then sometimes you just remove yourself. Narcissists, they go to that as step one in any kind of relationship. You can't get through to them. It's like, look, I already know everything I need to know. In fact, I need to know, I have so much knowledge that you need to know. Let's just focus on that. And they don't have any sense of mutuality. They don't have any reciprocity. It's all about me. And when you say, well, I'd like to talk with you about my perspective, it's like your perspective is non-existent as far as I'm concerned. A fifth pattern that they have, this is one that can drive you nuts, and that is they keep many double standards. And when I say double standards, it's like they're saying things that are okay for me that are not for you. Now, it might be in the way that they manage money. It might be in the way that they pursue their priorities, or how they handle their schedule, or how they have emotional expressions. And what I mean by that is I can yell at you, but you can't yell at me. The privileges that they assume upon themselves, it's like, yep, good old me over here, I'm entitled to all that stuff. You, no way. And you're the underling. A sixth toxic pattern that they bring is, they're certainly not going to admit this one. They have an overwhelmingly strong fear of appearing inadequate or weak or vulnerable. In other words, human. They can't admit even glaringly obvious flaws. They have to maintain this veneer. When I say veneer, it's phony, of superiority. They're fake. It's like, no, I am not going to let anybody see my humanity. And of course, when you have that, it's kind of like, well, it's kind of hard to have a human interaction then, isn't it? Which takes us to number 7, and that is they view other individuals as either useful or useless. In other words, they don't see their humanity in other individuals either. You're just someone to be exploited, and as long as you do what I want you to do, okay, you can stick around. And when you don't, get out of here. I don't need you. They don't have any need, or they don't have any curiosity to know you. And of course, healthy relationships are built upon understanding and empathy, etc. And then an 8th pattern that's very common with them, and that is they absolutely cannot and will not take responsibility for their mistakes or blunders. They don't apologize. They go into chronic blame shifting mode. They make excuses. And to them, it's like, well, if I take responsibility for something that might have gone wrong, you know what that means? Means I've lost my place of power, and I'm not doing that. And that's, again, yet part of their toxicity. They think that power and dominance is their birthright. So we go back to that word toxic, and then we can inject the other words like poisonous and harmful and infectious and erosive. That's what I mean when I say these individuals are that way, and certainly no relationship can succeed in the presence of those kind of patterns. And frankly, there are more that I could have mentioned. So the question for you is, how do you detox? Because when they bring these ingredients and you've been exposed to them over and over, it gets inside your system. And you wind up being less than effective in the way that you engage. And sometimes you may even pass it on to somebody else. How can you get away from that? Well, first and foremost, and we'll just say, how do you detox? Don't ingest the poison. They desperately want you to get into discussions with them if you were to say something, for example, like, why are you doing this to me? Or why do we always have to go into this kind of space with each other? I hate it. Because when you do that, you're already in. You've ingested it. It's like, I've got to get inside your head, and I've got to figure you out, and I got to get you to figure me out. And basically, you're already sucked in. Pull back. Do not go into that space. You're not going to get through to them anyway. Beyond that, know that when, as part of your detox, know that when they bring these kind of ingredients, they desperately want you to believe that you're the problem. But understand, their toxicity is about who they are. They would be this way if it's you on the scene or if it's someone else. They've been this way before you showed up. They're going to be this way after you go. It's who they are. And so don't take the bait when they say, well, this is all your fault. None of this would be going on if it weren't for you. Remove the subjectivity. In other words, rather than thinking, I can't believe they're saying this to me. And remind yourself, I need to be objective about who I'm dealing with. This is an individual, going back to number one, who plays games with the truth. Now, that said, part of your detox is trust in your understanding of truth. And by the way, and you don't have to convince the narcissist of what that is. But when somebody says, for example, you're the dumbest person I ever met, or you're just nothing but one bumbling error after another, it's like, well, going back to objectivity, let me think that through. No, I'm not that way. Stay in your truth, and if they have their alternate reality, then let them have it. Know who you are and know what the facts are, and if they don't go along with it, that illustrates, it's part of their toxicity. Then beyond that, invest in people and organizations who appreciate your value. You need to stay in touch with what is normal. And you need to be around people that like who you are, and will say, well, let's join our forces together towards something that's healthy and good. And then on top of that, prioritize your own preferred initiatives. I remember one lady, she said, well, I have some friends that want to play pickleball, want me to play pickleball with them, but my husband thinks that's stupid and he doesn't like it, so I don't. I said, well, what time do your friends play pickleball? She said, they usually meet at 9 o'clock in the morning. I said, well, why don't you have your pickleball clothes on and shoes and go out there and play with them? And she looked at me like, Carter, you're a genius. I'm like, yeah, I know. Do it. Pursue your own priorities. And if the narcissist doesn't like it, it's like, yeah, that's their toxicity. I'm not playing along with that. And then consider, which leads to a final thought, and that is consider yourself separate and distinct. Be your own separate person, priorities, preferences, interpretations, opinions, and sometimes if you have to be separate physically as well as emotionally and psychologically, do that because you just can't afford to be around people that are going to bring you down. Now, narcissists don't want to permit you to detox, but you know what? You don't need their permission. Instead, I'm hoping you can decide I'm on Team Healthy. And on Team Healthy, we stand for dignity, respect, and civility. Sign me up for that. And then as much as I can get away from that toxic person, that's what I'm going to do. I don't need their poison. Now, I hope that videos such as this can give you some good awareness of what you might be dealing with. If you've not already hit that subscribe button, do so, and there'll be a little notification bell. Hit that one too, and that'll keep you apprised of next videos that come along. I truly appreciate you letting me be on the journey. In addition, there are times when you are dealing with something like this and you need somebody to bring some objectivity to the situation. I've been sponsored for years by the people at BetterHelp.com. It's an online therapy resource, and it could be that you could use some therapy of that nature. Online has proven to be very successful and very accessible. And so you can go through the link, answer a few questions, and select a therapist that can say, I want to know you, and let's figure out how you can go through this detox. Get the help that you need. Go through the link. In addition, in my retirement from my counseling practice, I put together courses. These are online classes, and each one of them has at least 25 teaching videos, and along with each video, there's a set of handouts and guided questions, and it goes through a whole therapeutic kind of process with you to get into a better place. One is called Anger Games. That's my big one right now, about how to stay out of their anger traps. In addition, This Is Me, about having boundaries, Free to Be, Ready, Set, Connect, about connecting well. So there are links below, and they're also on my website. Avail yourself to that. In addition, on my website, I have access to my webinars, which are 90-minute presentations of a very different nature that are on a wide variety of subjects. We're adding to that list, as well as access to my podcasts, articles, and books. So lots of resources. Okay, I don't want to drink poison and on a physical way, and I don't want to drink poison psychologically. Narcissists will hand it over to you and say, here, take this toxin. It's like, no, I'm on to you. Be aware of who they are and what they bring to the equation, and then have your own separate detox. And in doing so, I hope that it allows you to be the person of steadiness that they can't be. They just bring their chaos with them. And as you do subscribe to that dignity, respect, and civility, I'm hoping it allows you to get further and further down your path into peace.